Hello, everyone. My name is Thomas Seifert. I have the pleasure and honor to be the facilitator of this fishbowl. Who of you here is a scuba diver? Just? Okay. Well, we'll all be diving with us in the fishbowl now. So, let's start right off with George. Please, we have agreed that everybody just shortly introduce yourself and then throw out one thought, one inspiration to get the whole thing running.
Sure. Well, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here. And my name is George Anton. I'm from Lebanon. I have spent most of my life working for NGOs, the NGO sector. Currently, I'm the country director of Mercy Corps in Lebanon. And a couple months ago, I became a mayor of my original town. So maybe I got infected by the mayors who I work with them for some time right now to be a mayor myself. Let me, if I can, do you want to do the introductions first or should I do mine?
Yeah.
Okay. If you allow me, I would like to start with 3 thank yous. The first one is to Patricia, Elke, and Andre for their commitment and dedication starting Act.Now, and continuing through the years. The second, thank you is to the Act team. And I know how much effort they put to put these conferences together. I know how hard they work. So thank you so much for doing this, Act.Now team. And the And the third one, for everybody who came here, and especially to participate in this conference, and especially the presenters who worked on the sparkling inputs and promising practices. We heard great experience, and thank you so much for being here. You've been inspiring, and we definitely took a lot from what we heard from you. During the 2 days, there were many things that were similar and relevant to many people who see them in their communities, but also there were many other things that we learned. They are different in different communities, whether it's related to the mentality, to the culture, to the situation, circumstances. So it was a good learning ground for all of us, and I speak for myself, and I've been also mingling with others, and this is the impression that I got from everybody. The sparkling inputs were terrific, and it was a good combination of some research that we heard about how people perceive things. There were also stories that we heard, and for me, all of them were great. But I was especially touched by the powerful presentation by Andre and Hayriye from Cyprus. It was a powerful presentation by these 2 young ladies that honestly I couldn't keep myself. I got emotional in the end about what they were speaking about, the divided Cyprus. It's such a small, tiny island that has been separated for years because of politics. And when people have a chance to get together, then we see and we find that people really love. Although there are so many people who probably promote hatred, there are many more who like peaceful transformation and people to live in peace. And they were talking about physical separation. But for me, there is also psychological separation and mental separation that we cannot see, but it is felt. I want to share with you a very small story. One of the programs that we implemented was a community center that brought Palestinian, Syrian, and Lebanese kids together. And once I was visiting, and I asked a very young Palestinian girl, I said, "What did you learn from coming to this community center?" And she said, honestly, "My parents told me that Lebanese do not like Palestinian and do not play with Lebanese kids. But when I came here, I made friends with Syrian and Lebanese, and my whole perception changed. But just small thing, creating space for people to get together and talk about things makes a big difference in the lives of everyone. What I'm taking with me from this conference is to be more active, to be proactive more than ever, and to initiate things. And this has to be done on all sides. The impressive thing here is that this conference brought leaders, whether it's politicians, mayors, and also there was academicians, and there were also youth. And I was personally impressed with the interventions that many of the youth, in some of the meetings that I was there, how energetic they are, how much they want to change the world. And I would say for both, those who are decision makers should be proactive and not wait, and initiate things, and also the youth should be proactive and not wait. And both should be modest in what they ask for and what they can agree to, so that we can reach a certain middle ground that everyone agrees to that would move our communities to a better situation. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Wow. Maria.
Yes. Okay. So he has said everything. Well, I am Maria. I used to be vice mayor in Athens, in the municipality of Athens, responsible for children. I'm a psychologist. I want, on my turn, thank the whole organization here. It was a big opportunity for me. At this moment that I finished my career as politician, and it's really the time to think about things that were happening. Because when you are in the action, you don't have very easily the time and the disponibility to take some time to think of what is done. So for me, it was the perfect moment. But I don't want to repeat, because some of the things that are already told by George, it was in my mind. As you can imagine, the experience of Nicosia, it was also for me a very touching issue, and the way that it was presented. And I can tell you also a very small story about that. I've been in Nicosia back on time. Well, I will tell you, never mind. It was at the 80s, beginning of the 80s. And I was shocked of the image of this town, really, literally divided. I had never seen something like that at the time. So to see now young people being and working together and creating so important things, for me, it's something very important. On the other hand, for me, what was very, very rich as experience, it was the youth participation in this conference. You know, when you are vice mayor, the way that you can see, speak, and be in contact with different groups is much in a framework. You cannot do whatever you want. That means you cannot hear, and also all the political framework, let's say again, does not leave you always to do your personal choices. To tell you an example, I always wanted to have in the municipality's web site an ear who would say to children, we can hear you and you can send your messages. I was not able to do it. Maybe the next mayor or a mayor can hear us here. So for me, that was the very important thing. And my little problem was that as I was presenting a promising practice, I didn't have the opportunity to see other promising practices, which would be very important. But I had the opportunity to speak for our promising practice, the open schools, which was something that responded to much of the issues that we are discussing here. I stop here.
Yes. Naz, please.
No?
Yes, it works.
Hi, I'm Naz. I'm from Turkey. Right now, I'm studying in Poland as an Erasmus student. The reason that I'm here is I started volunteering when I was in high school, and I learned that we can change lives, we can change things as individuals. And after that, before coming to Poland, I was volunteering in Refugees Association in Turkey. So I saw in the first place that how we are dealing with social cohesion problems. And when I came to here with those inputs and those workshops, I understood that if we can be heard by local authorities, if we can work together, we can all change our community. So we can spread it in global phrase, like big phrases. So that's why this place is so important to me. Then another thing that I learned from here is we all are interested about our community and like global issues, and we follow and we get informations, yes. But from here, we met people from other countries, and we shared stories, we learned, and we understood that the first step should be talking, getting to know each other in person, so that we can be together and be progressive on overcoming problems. That's what I will say.
Saya.
Yeah,
Yes.
hi. You hear me? Yes. Okay, hi. My name is Saya. I'm a district mayor here in Vienna of the 9th district, so like basic political level. I was born in Iraq, so I'm Kurdish, Iraqi Kurdistan, so Kirkuk. I've been living in Austria for 29 years. Me and my family, we fled Iraq in the Gulf War, 1991, and came to Austria, or landed actually in Austria and in Carinthia, so in the south of Vienna. We stayed there over, I think, 12, 13 years, something like that. And then I moved to Vienna to study, and then my family moved to Vienna because they like big cities, and they're used to Baghdad and Kirkuk and, you know, like bigger cities. So when I came to Vienna, I started to engage in politics. I met some people from the Social Democrats Party, young people actually at the university, college. And then I started to hang around with them because I liked their attitude and their political views. And I saw myself within these ideology actually of the social democracy, and so I stayed there, I stick there, and now I'm district mayor of the same district I started to engage myself in. What I find very interesting on that level of policy making is, and I was thinking about it when you talked about what you couldn't do, on this level you can do a lot, because you are, to a degree, not really, you're free in what you want to do. And sometimes it's very basic things you do, very basic projects, sometimes the bigger issues where you have to, talk to the other political parties, to the municipality, to the residents. I'm not a very patient person, so I think this level of policy making is the right one for me. And what I am trying to do, and that's basically I think that's because of my personal history of experiencing war and experiencing exclusion also here in Austria and discrimination, I think my aim and my goal was and is to find ways to include people in taking part in political decision making, taking part in politics, and so I'm trying to be creative as far as it's possible in politics, and that's why I'm doing a lot to involve the residents in decision making without or working around our citizenship concept and working around of voting rights here in Austria. I think Jürgen Czernohorski talked about it. It's a very, very restrictive concept of citizenship and of the right to vote. So in my district, in 9th district, we have, I think, 40% of the people living in the 9th district don't have the Austrian citizenship. And I think that's a big challenge we have to tackle as a district, but as the city of Vienna and as a country, actually, how to give people the right to vote, because they live here, they are influenced and they're impacted by the decisions that are made by politicians, but they cannot vote. So I'm trying to work around this, and I'm using very different formats of spaces for encounter, actually. Yes.
It works? Yes. Right. Hello, everyone, again. My name is Fetia, and I come from Kosovo, but I'm currently living and studying in Budapest, Hungary. And I feel like everything that I had to say has been said already, but however, I would like to say thank you not only to the founders of Act.Now, but to everyone who contributed in making this experience one of the greatest experiences I have ever had. The reason why I'm here is because I am really interested in finding ways and solutions to how to bring people together, because being born and raised in Kosovo means that you become aware of conflict, exclusion, division, separation at a very young age, unfortunately, and especially if you were born during the 90s or even earlier. I have experienced the war myself, even though I was 5 years old at that time, and I don't really remember what was going on, although I thought that we were shooting a movie, because my theory of mind was not developed yet completely. But later on, I understood that all the people that were coming to our house, refugees from other parts of Kosovo, were people that were feeling terror. And fortunately, that period of time is over now, and it has been 20 years after the war between Albanians and Serbs. And I think that it is the right time to find ways to bring these two communities together, since we are living in the same country. So this is the main reason why I attended this conference, because luckily for me, this was the main goal of this conference, space for encounter and overcoming division. And I have enjoyed and all activities here, but I would like to mention one of the promising practices, which is, ironically, it's actually from Kosovo, but I haven't heard about it before, so excuse my ignorance. But one of the mayors from Kosovo, who is present here today, the mayor of Kamenica, he is actually he is the initiator of a language school for Albanians of Kosovo to learn Serbian language, and for the Serbian community to learn Albanian language. And I think this is one of the biggest step that we can take toward bringing these two communities together, because as Nas mentioned, the very first thing that we should do is communicate. And I think that if we have a common language, the communication, it's way easier. And one of the ideas that I got from this conference is to actually propose this to the mayor in the municipality where I come from and see what could be done there. So thank you.
So, thanks everyone. This is also the time when I introduce myself. My name is Thomas Seifert. I'm Deputy Editor-in-Chief of Wiener Zeitung, a newspaper here in Vienna, and it's actually the oldest newspaper still in print, exists since 1703. And just to bring things together, what I think, what you all agreed on, what you all said more or less in different wordings though, was bringing people together, finding a common language, tearing down walls. And I must say, I mean, we are lucky enough in this age group to have lived through this age and time. There was a fence not far from here, which was Hungary, and what is now Slovakia, at that time Czechoslovakian border. There was a wall dividing Berlin. It's only 30 years, and I'm not saying it was easy, but we did it. So in Europe, we did it. We're not finished yet, but it's there, at least. The question is, what now? And more than ever, this seems to be under threat. New walls came up. Do we have still common language? Do we have these forums to bring people together? Or is it not a constant fight? And this is also the time when I invite people here to join us for statements, for input, for questions, for participation. So don't be shy. Join us here. You don't have to. You can also just sneak in when nobody's watching. Oh. Please, thank you.
Hi, I am Imin, but
Hi, Imin.
Is it a problem if I have a recipe instead of a question?
A recipe, okay?
Okay.
That's good.
So, this recipe for youth cake, first of all, you have to provide all the ingredients and then you can start making your cake. Don't say you don't have motivation for that because there is 8 billion people who are waiting for your cake. Don't get disappointed by racist, discriminators and lazy people because they are jealous and they want to ruin your cake. So, let's go. First of all, take 1 pound of your motivation and heat it up. You have to continue heating it up during the whole process. Because when motivation gets cooled down, cake won't be delicious enough. Take 4 pieces of your friendship and add it up to the motivation. Instead friendship, you can add family or both. If you see a lot of different colors in the bowl, that means that you didn't mix it up well, so you have to add 100 milligrams of equality, peeled and cubed. Once you see just one color, you get mixture called social cohesion. If you want sweeter cake, you should add 3 tablespoons of peace and happiness, but just organic ones. If you forget them, your cake can be ruined by war, poverty and discrimination. Then stir cake up with package of responsibility if you have it, or you could find it at a local municipality or your school. If you want your cake to be a change maker, you can add 2 cubes of youth councils and 1 teaspoon of Act.Now conference. And if you wish on the end, you can flavor it with some education, sport, music, arts, science or politics. You add them to your taste. And when your cake is finished, you can add on top some candies. They can be any nationality, sexuality, religion or language. You can serve it on small plates called local communities. Cake is eaten by fork called active citizen. You must have a lot of strength to make this cake because no one in the world didn't make it for years. Even everyone has all the ingredients. Now when you know the recipe, let's all of us be youth cake makers.
Wow. Thank you so much. And I hope you... What else is there to do? We already have the recipe now, and I encourage you to put it up somewhere.
Yes.
Maybe go to the organizers so it can be published online, because I think this cake a lot of people want to eat. So, please. Yeah. Well, a lot of inspiration from this text.
Yeah, Thomas, if I can make this comment, actually, it's a great recipe. Thank you so much, Amin, for sharing with us. You should make copies and send it to everyone. Yeah, I just want to make a comment on what you just said, Thomas. Yes, the world is full of wars and separation, and it's something that will never end. I mean, if we look through history, this always happened. So I don't think that we should believe that this is going to stop, because it's not going to stop. There is always selfishness in this world, and greed, and all the similar things. But I think what we need to do is for this not to discourage us. We need to keep the positive engagement in our hearts and minds, and work together to try, even no matter how much destruction takes place, we should have the energy and the will to build again and make the world a better place.
Thanks, George.
I want to add something. I think that small interventions and little actions sometimes are more effective than big plans. I mean that the little cake that we heard here, it's not necessary to be applied in all the world, all around. As you said, there is no chance to have it. But to all the small movements, all the on the local level things that happen, can be very. You cannot think in the beginning what is going, where it goes, what is going to happen. In my experience, all the small things we started, and sometimes with much, I don't know, many reactions, but they started, and then somebody else took it a little further and goes on. I think that we must encourage people, do things, do something, because the more common is that people do nothing.
And remember, like what you said, little things. Rosa Parks, one of the famous figures of the American civil rights movement, she just sat in the bus where she wasn't supposed to sit. She said, I can sit here. And that's started a whole, for the whole movement, it was a huge moment. It was just one woman sitting in a place where she was not supposed to sit, but she did it.
Exactly.
Although I would like to interact here, I strongly agree with what George already mentioned, and unfortunately there is no manual to tell us how to stop wars, how to bring peace, how to bring people together, how to overcome division, because each case, each country, each community has its own differences. But you mentioned that we always need energy, and I feel like this energy would be bigger if it comes from youth. That's why we need to include involve youth in decision making, and this is one of the things that has been constantly said to us in the last couple of days. And actually, one of the youth participants yesterday said to me, "It was the first time that I actually felt heard." And it really feels good being heard, being listened to, being listened not for the sake of replying, but being listened for the sake of understanding. And it feels good to know that somebody is taking into consideration your ideas. And that's why I think we should include not these young participants, but youth in general in decision making. So I strongly agree what you said, but I also think that youth should be included there and involved in whatever very important politicians think of doing in the future with different communities in different countries and different continents.
And also in our circle here, so please join us. Come on.
As people are getting ready to come, can I just say one more thing? I agree with you 100%. And I want to thank Eduardo, who said something yesterday that's going to stick with me. And I've been always saying, and he said that we shouldn't say that youth are the future, youth are the present. Well, Eduardo, I'm going to keep saying youth are the future, but I'll add to it that youth are the present and the future. And that was a great thing that I learned personally yesterday. So thank you, Eduardo, for that.
Yes, I just wanted to say, like you said, George, if we look to the world right now, it's sometimes I don't know how it is for you, but for me sometimes it's really overwhelming to see all the issues we have and all the problems and challenges we are facing. So I think sometimes it's easier if we can break it down to the local level and for example, what does climate change mean for the local level and how can we act facing these challenges? Or what is social exclusion and how can we break it down? What does it mean for the neighborhood, for example, in a district, and how can we face it and make it for the better? So I think that makes us more flexible if we think that way. And it makes us, it allows us to be more creative in finding solutions. So I just say one example, what I'm doing, especially talking about the youth. We have in our district, we initiated years ago actually a youth parliament where we invite the pupils of the elementary and secondary school, so 6 to 14 years, to, we invite them to involve themselves and to have a consciousness for democracy. And it's a very low-level thing to do, and you work with the schools and with the youth organizations we have, but the outcome is a very important and sustainable, actually, outcome, because the young kids learn how to express themselves and they are heard. And I think that's a way of showing respect to the people who, they all live in the neighborhood, they all live in the districts, and we all live in this world actually together. And we do face sometimes the same challenges and sometimes very different, but I think the most important thing is to listen to each other. And for us as as local politicians, it's important to provide spaces where all these people can come together and talk and be heard. So,
Thank you, Saya. Erica, thanks for joining our circle.
Hi.
Yeah, hi.
Hi. My name is Erica. I come from Albania. I wanted to share a perspective that has really impressed me. And it comes from a Greek author, which I hope I do not mispronounce his name. It's Patrick Arakas, I guess, yeah? And his book, which was War in 140 Characters. And what his point in the book is that the way we use the media has such a big influence in today's world conflict. And each of us plays a really important role in that. Just by using our phone in our everyday life, what we search, what we look for, what appears in front of our feed, and what we choose to look up. That's very important and fuels maybe even bad news, fake news. And he gave a specific example of how ISIS, which is now a world threat, becomes even a more important threat because of how they use the media and the fact that we pay attention. They know the power of media and they use it in their advantage. So it's a logarithm. But if we stop looking up what they do, if we stop looking up at crimes, or we do not pay as much attention to their videos appearing in the internet that spread terror, then we create a contrAlgorithm. So I would really like to focus on that contrAlgorithm and to be more proactive in the way we use media. Thank you.
Thanks. Sure. Thank you.
Okay, as we talked about media, I want to tell something about that. Especially in Turkey, right now, there is a big information pollution in media that causes so many troubles in social cohesion, creates division, reactions in society. That's why I believe that local authorities must use social media in a strong way, that community can be entrusted in local authorities when they face a news which can cause a reaction. And in the first way, they can use the correct information in the first hand. That's what I wanted to say after the media example.
Although there has been one of the practicing promises here, I just don't see the presenter here, but it was from Germany, Essen, and they created this Facebook group where they would bring people together. He's there, I see him now. And they would help people in Germany in the cases of catastrophes or people in need or homeless people by giving food to them or helping whatever people need. So sometimes I know that media, it has a big impact on changing the facts and changing the perspectives, but for bad sometimes, unfortunately. But it also can be seen as a very helpful tool in some cases, as this is one of the cases that proves that. And I think that, for instance, in my municipality at least, it could be used to bring people from two communities together, because all of them have something in common. All of them want to live a better life. And given the fact that in Kosovo has the youngest population in Europe, the average age is 25 years old, which means all of them use social media for sure, and all of them can be part of a Facebook group, for instance. So the least we can do. And we can bring all of them together and maybe by taking small actions, change something in our community, little town, and then from that in bigger cities, and then from that in other countries, and from that in other continents.
Yes. Let me just add as a journalist that I believe that legacy media, traditional ways of journalism have a lot to bring to the table, because it's a fact-based thing that one does. And on the other hand, very often social media can be used as a weapon of mass distraction, where just do something, and in fact, on the other, Donald Trump is one example of this, making a big show here, and in fact, something goes on somewhere else. Yeah, so you're absolutely right. Media is important. Lisa, glad you joined us.
Thank you for being here. I guess I came here to kind of accept a reality of the past 48 hours on a different end. Throughout these 2 days, I kind of have been zoned out, partly because the topics that we tackle get me puzzled on a question, how, and what needs to be done next. I really appreciate the opportunity to get together and get sort of ignited on the power of, yes, we can, yet the realities wherever we come from change and shape the narratives of how we can walk. And sort of when we talk about, your words of how you came to Vienna and you moved and got in, and the fact that 40% of your district really can't have a say on what goes on, are everyday realities from every community, really. There's no sort of perfect country out there that could walk the talk, because talking can get very easily, but walking becomes problematic. And becomes problematic partly because I think sometimes within our power, we try to do too much and forget the inside of our own. Like, what are the desires what shakes your heart, really? And a lot of us have the desire to do better. But within ourselves, it's often the traumas that are uncured or haven't been walked through the process inflict that sort of the other. And so in that the other and overcoming division, my puzzle throughout this day has been that I've been zoned out on a question of why, and felt sort of a guilt of not being able to truly, engage, right? To understand everyone's perspective. But that on that end, I've also come to realize that despite my passion and inspiration and really hard work, I've become cynical of my reality. Partly because I've been bombarded. External factors are always there. So it's very hard to sort of be a bit more, I think, when we go on a whoa, trying to do everything, it becomes very hard in the internal to say, what did you learn today, right? Because sometimes you repeat yourself so often that your thoughts sort of become your representation, and your representation might inspire others, yet you feel set deep down. And recently I learned, in her last letter, I want to share this, Mother Teresa sent it to her priest, a note, despite all that she has done. Within the letter that she wrote, it gave a sense that she was not feeling the love back. So I guess the two final points from my end is, strangers are just the friends you haven't met. That African proverbs, that all it takes is a hi and bye. It really doesn't need much interaction. And the second part is that while we're trying to spread peace and love, if we could a bit reflect on our internal end and provide that love to ourselves before we pass it on to others, maybe we could be in a better place. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sabaeta, and I also come from Albania. And I wanted to share a reflection of mine during this conference. When I came here, I honestly had no idea what the real situation in Cyprus was, or in Tripoli, in Lebanon. And even my history teacher, when she was trying to explain us the history of Cyprus, she told us, I think that half of it belongs to Greece and half to Turkey, but I don't know. And that's how I learned it. I learned it by heart because I had an exam, and I wrote that half of Cyprus is Greece and half Turkey. And coming here made me realize once again how important it is to take the information from the base level, from the people that actually experience that reality every day, and how important it is to use the tool, the media, as we said before, not to encourage those bad examples, but to actually inform people about what is going on, what is the reality of these people, and what can we do to support their causes, and not just to stand as ignorant citizens of the world, because globalization has brought us together, and we should use this in our favor to inform others and to empower ourselves and everyone else. Thank you.
Just one sentence. I think taking the media into being responsible is a very important statement, and that's very true. My personal experience is that the one thing is, what you ask. No, in a different way. The one thing is what you want others to do and other stakeholders to do, and the other thing is what you can do for yourself. And I've been thinking a lot actually about the media and the role of the media in Austria, for example, but internationally, and also the roles of, enterprises and stuff like this, so the role of the economy. But at the end of the day, I was sitting at home and I was thinking, okay, but that doesn't help me actually, because it makes me kind of feel powerless, because I can't really do something. I can ask for something or having some approaches, but I can't really do something. What I can do is walking around in my neighborhood and talking to people. What I can do is what I'm actually doing right now and today as well. That's why I have to leave a little early. I tour as a mayor, as a district mayor. I tour around the district with a red couch, and I sit in the public space and I invite all residents to talk to me. So I think the most important thing is talking to each other and listening to each other, but you have to be a little creative these days how you do it, so that you can get people's attentions, first of all, and secondly, that you give the people the feeling of really being listened to and of really taking them seriously. And that's why I think overall it's about listening to each other and being creative in that.
But I have a question. Sorry, please. No, go ahead.
So I agree with what you said, but I think in order, for mayors mostly, or politicians in general, I think in order to talk to your people, or to people in general, you should first get to know them. And when I was asked in the first day of this conference, what would you do if you were the prime minister or the president of your country, I said I would cut all the expenses, extra expenses that politicians of my country make. And actually that sounded kind of economical frustration, but now I realize that it is actually true, because once those extra expenses are cut and once they live the life that every citizen of that country lives, they will get to understand what people go through every day, and then they will feel closer to them. If they walk the same streets as usual people, if they go to the same hospitals, if they attend the same schools, then it will definitely bring them closer. So let's not consider, I cannot say ourselves, because I'm not a politician yet, at least, but none of us should not consider themselves as a higher level than somebody else. Let's just be simple, talk to people, understand them, and help them solve their problems and issues.
I want to add something to your, and I think it fits together. It's the issue of the trust. People don't trust politicians. And that's not in a special country. I think that is all around the world. And so that's a big problem. It's good to go to people and trying to approach them. But the first thing they have on mind, and sometimes, and many times, it is, let's say, correct, is that you want something from them. You want something to earn if you are a politician. So even if you are an open-minded and very clear and very willing politician, you have to the mistrust, this attitude from the other side. And the other thing I want to say is that it's for the same reason it's very difficult to approach the youth, because also they don't trust politicians, and also they have enough of hearing all these nice, good, perfect words and nothing to happen. And for me, that's an open question: how young people can approach. And how can this approach be done? And it's a real question. I don't have an answer.
Okay. So, hi everyone. My name is Pavlos. I'm from Germany. And, well, I would underline nearly everything what was said, but like, I think we all agree on the basis of that youth participation is really important. But the question I always ask myself is, how do we reach those children, how do we reach those young people that are not engaged everywhere, that are not already part of NGOs? I mean, it's amazing that there are so many people and so many young people that are engaged. But for example, if we look at youth councils, they're not always as representative as we want them to be. And I think that one of my experiences that I have made is that we need to reframe our understanding of politics and democracy, and youth participation is an amazing tool for democratization, to democratize young people and to show them that with their skills they can contribute something to their community, and they can learn what politics actually is, because politics, the DNA of democracy is solving problems. And this is what you can do with youth participation. And this is one central question. And as our topic is overcoming division, I think it would be a nice topic to discuss on. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yes, sure.
According to your question, Maria, I would like to say and share something that I experienced 1 hour ago. We had a workshop and we created a manifesto with mayors together, and we voted our ideas all together. So I would like to imagine a community that I can get together with mayors as a youth council member and vote my ideas to include myself in decision making. So I can see your reaction as person, because we all in our lives trying to reach the authorities, but in somehow like via email maybe, after 3 months getting answers, but for the first time in my life, I get reaction in the second from a mayor about what I thought. So it made me feel like I have a voice. And right now, I want to thank everyone. We are lucky, we are sitting here, I have the microphone, I have the voice, but there are so many people like us all around the world, like can't be heard by anyone, and with an amazing ideas that maybe you didn't meet. The other participants, there are 70 of us, they are all amazing, and it was the best experience that I had, that workshop, and I would like to have it in my own country, in a decision-making process. A mayor, someone who is able to change something, listen to me, and give me an answer in that moment.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, just a very quick reflection. Pavlos, right? Yeah. What you said is great, and it's very important. But let me give you a practical example of life. Take a company. Who gets promoted? It's people who really show that they have value added, and they show that they can take more responsibility. And any aspect of life, it follows the same norm in this way. So what I'm trying to say is that, yes, mayors, decision makers have to be challenged to give youth a voice and to include them. But also youth should be challenged in the same way to prove that they have value to offer. And this is something natural in life. If I feel that you have something to give that helps me, I will come to you. I will not wait for you to come to me always. So it's something that should be on both parts. And this is when I talked, I said, we need to be modest, we need to meet halfway, and we need to keep the dialogue. And everyone learns from the other, no matter where in the hierarchy there are, as long as we prove that we have something important and good to give.
Thank you, George. Fatima.
Hi, everyone. My
Hi.
name is Fatima. I'm from Lebanon. I want to reflect on something, and I want to add upon what you were saying, and I want to ask you a specific question. So I'll start by saying that this conference inspired me, and it brought to my attention that really art and music can bring us together, especially in the context of Lebanon, where there's division between the Lebanese people on religion. And there's a division there's a little social cohesion between refugees and the Lebanese community. So after the music that we heard yesterday and the shared art, I realized that actually we all become cohesive with, we actually, the common ground between us all is art and music, and that's what actually brings Lebanese people and even Lebanese and Syrians and Palestinians and Lebanon together. So it's something that we sometimes do and not naturally, but maybe if we pay more attention to it and if we invest in it in a different way, it can do much difference. And another question for you specifically, because you have a background in working with youth and then working with NGOs and then giving voices for youth through NGO, I want to congratulate you for becoming a mayor, because we actually need such leaders as you are. So I want to ask you, from your experience, how would you offer the Lebanese youth a ground for them to have a voice in Lebanon in the complicated situation?
Thank you, Fatima. As I said, it has to be both sides. Youth should not wait to be offered to have their voice heard. They should shout and shout very loudly all the time. Because no matter what happens, if you don't say anything, no one is going to give you attention. So my advice would be to be conscientious about what you ask for or youth ask for, get very well organized, use as much specialty and experience as possible, learn from each other, and continue and never get discouraged. People will hear you at some point. And if one leader at some point is not giving that much attention, use the time to get more organized and more prepared for the next leader to come. And there may be a chance with the other leader. So this is how things should work. And as I said, people, when people are humble, when they are modest, in whatever they ask for, in the way that they act in life, I think they get through to the other side much, much easier than just being unrealistic sometimes and raising the bar too high. So everything should be modest in life to get to a certain destination that we want. Thank you.
Dear everybody, we are already run out of time, unfortunately. You have been a wonderful audience and participant in one go. And also here, a wonderful circle. My takeaway is, first of all, and we heard that all in a sense from Fatima and from other speakers before, especially the young speakers we had, is to inoculate ourselves against cynicism and also to find inner peace, because if you don't have that, you cannot give, spread peace if you don't have it within yourself. And then also what you guys said is like being practical. And also, don't just, for the young people, don't wait to be asked, but go there and make yourselves heard. Yes, and a lot more things that we have to consider. And we all want your recipe, so please publish that. And that was also a wonderful intervention, so thank you so much. I hope you also enjoyed this as much as I did. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Thomas.
George, thank you.